Hey, my name is Kaylee. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is Read Rant Review, where usually I read books and I do rant reviews, right? So I'll read crazy books and I tell you all about them. If you're clicking on this video, you probably already know that. I started this channel in October of 2024 and have gotten like absolutely insane channel growth since then. And I'm so incredibly grateful. And so I thought, what better way to wrap up the year and wrap up just, I don't know, the killer first year on the channel in general than to do a Q&A. So I put up a Q&A on my Instagram and I made a community post about it, and you little crazy heads asked me over 60 questions. So I kind of siphoned them down because some of them were a little repeat, you know, like what were your fave books of the year, that sort of thing. So I did a little bit of compiling and I'm just gonna go through and answer a bunch of questions that you guys had. So this is gonna be a little bit more of a casual, hangouty, you know, vibe sesh. First and foremost, I am officially in the new house. I've talked about moving over the last couple of weeks. Not, as you can tell by all of the boxes around me, not moved in a very formal sense. You are propped up on some boxes, but enough to at least film something. So this is probably the one time that you will see this room. Hopefully after this, I'll be able to get my actual like office set up figured out and we'll start recording in there. So yeah, thank you guys for your patience with that. I'm hoping once we get into 2026, I'll be able to get back on my regular routine and like posting my 2 videos a week of all kinds of different things. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate your patience and working with me as we go through this crazy time in my personal life. I also was so incredibly excited because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in a new house. I'm gonna have natural lighting, which I totally would if it wasn't the dead of winter in the Midwest where the sun sets at 4:30. Like, it's so dark outside right now. I'm genuinely upset about it. Like, you can tell there's a little bit of natural light, but this is not nearly enough for being 4:30. And I swear to God, it gets darker and darker every single year. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get into the questions. I have them sorted into some different categories. So I have general reading questions. There was some recommendations, some channel process questions, some personal questions, and other. So we'll go through it in that order and I'll tackle it in the way that I have it laid out on this particular spreadsheet. Sorry if it's repetitive, sorry if it's whatever. Like I said, I am literally in the middle of chaos and we'll go back to unpacking right after I'm done filming and editing this. I'm just trying to get some content out there so the YouTube overlords don't kick me off of the algorithm. And also because, like I said, I'm so incredibly grateful for you guys that I want to like have something up and share something and I don't know, just hang out for a bit. It feels weird not posting and not talking to you guys for like a week straight. So I need to. And also, it doesn't seem like a week straight to you guys because I've had backlog videos going. So you have no idea when this is being recorded. You have no idea of the time travel that we're going through currently. But anyway, reading questions. How many books did you end up reading this year? And do you have reading goals for next year? So this year, let me go into my Goodreads because that's like the most accurate. I read 108 books. My goal was 60 because I knew that I wanted to read at least one a month, but 52 is not a very nice looking number, so I rounded up to 60. Yeah, blew that goal out of the water. Very, very surprised by that. I'm actually going to be doing a tier list of all of those books that I read this year, so look forward to that coming at like the end of this month, if not like the first week of January, and that'll be a public one. Usually I do tier lists and I keep them as like book bestie tiers only, or like members exclusive content. But like I said, I need some filler videos as we move forward. So I will go through and tell you all about the crazy books that I read in a summary tier list video, and we can talk about it for that. My 2026 reading goals, I will probably have 60 as the goal again. I'm not gonna push it too hard. We'll just see what life has, and to be honest, I would rather have a goal that is attainable and blow it out of the water than try to do something to push myself, because I don't need to push myself any harder than I go at naturally, if that makes sense. And we'll unpack that sentence in a minute. Do you have a book that you've been putting off because you've been making content? If so, what book is it and would you do a video on it? I would argue that the book would be The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. I'm like 40% of the way through it, and I know emotionally I'm gonna be wrecked. And so I listen to it in like 10% chunks, and then I have to put it back down. And I really am kind of putting it off from reading it because it's been such a good experience that I don't want it to end. But also the fact that, like, if I read it, every time I read it and I have this like really great time and I see this great writing and this great character development, and then I have to go and read the shit that I do for this channel, it makes me really sad inside. And so I've been like piecemealing this good book over the course of like over a month now because it's such a good time. So I mean, I guess it's like kind of putting it off because of the channel, kind of not. I don't think there's really anything else that I've been putting off necessarily, because if it's something that I want to read, I'll just do it and I'll put it up on a Monday. Because my Monday, if you've noticed or paid attention at all, my Monday videos usually don't do well. That's usually when I do my casual classics or like the meme book type videos, or the books that I know aren't going to be popular, right? My rave reviews go up on Mondays, and really just anything that I don't think is going to hit right, I'll try to upload on Mondays, and that's just like my inherent bad video day. Does that make sense? So I don't put something off of the channel. Like if I want to read it, I want to read it. And if I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. I'll just do it on the right day. Does that make sense? So yeah, no, I guess kind of, sort of, to answer your question. And would I make a video on it? Yeah, like I said, I kind of do anyway. For The Everlasting, I will not make a video on that book just because there is a lot of world building and whatnot that I think is really necessary to appreciate the book for what it is. And that's not something that I would be able to convey in a review, because a lot of it is like time travel-y, sci-fi, historic, you know, establishment of like blah, 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 that I don't think I could do it justice, and so that would make me not want to talk about it. All-time favorite book, and what type of books do you enjoy reading the most? And this was a whole bunch of stuff, right? Because I also got asked what my favorite classic was and my favorite genre. I think my all-time favorite book is, and this is going to answer a lot of the other questions that are coming up as well, This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Mohtar. I am obsessed with that book. I literally, for my birthday in January, I want to get a tattoo of it so badly. I love that book. It was my favorite book that I read this year. It was my favorite book of all time, the favorite video that I did a rant review on, my favorite everything. I quite literally cannot speak highly enough of that book. And also, I know that it's kind of unpopular because it's a little hard to understand and it like makes no sense to people. But it's just like so beautiful, dude. Like, please, I just want people to go into it with like an open mind of like, it's not gonna make sense. You have to go into it and read it for the vibes, and that's it. You would just have to read the vibes. It's so freaking good. So that's my favorite book, like ever, ever, ever. I would also argue that of like my other favorite book, and I would consider it like my favorite classic, would be The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, and really anything by Ray. I love that type of like sci-fi. It's like what is the name for it? Where it's like realistic. I love magic realism, and I also love, what the frick is that subgenre of sci-fi and why is it leaving my mind? Speculative? Is that what it is? Speculative fiction? Where it's like real life, just like a little twist, a little bit of something that is not, you know, doesn't apply to like our current understanding or whatever of like physics and biology and the sciences, or with a little bit of magic, but it's mostly day-to-day people. I love that. I love minimal world building with this like one twist that makes it significantly different. I enjoy those books, and those are my favorite to like get lost in. So yeah, speculative fiction, like magic realism type books. I'm a sucker for poetry. Anything that's a little post-apocalyptic-y, social commentary on how we're all destroying ourselves. I love books like that, which also, this is a later question and I'll address it then too, but I'll say it right now to you. Those are also my favorite TV shows. So shows like Black Mirror, where it's like, this is how technology and science is going to destroy the human race. And this is like some social commentary of current day and how we'll spiral out of control with technology. It's very bleak, especially the Black Mirror episodes that came out in like 2015, 2016 that are a little too real at the current moment. So good though. I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. I love when people think outside of the box with science. I think that is so fun. And I love when people think about technology in such a fun way, in a fun, unique way, and how it impacts people. In terms of like my favorite classic, if you're wondering, my favorite classic that I've reviewed of like the books that I have read thus far on the channel, like in my casual classics series, I think we go back to, it depends on what you consider a classic. Perks of Being a Wallflower will always hold a very, very special place in my heart. Obviously, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, 1984 by George Orwell are the social commentary books that I'm talking about that I love. I really, really loved The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, just as a fellow depressed 19-year-old. It was very nice reading it from that perspective and put words to thoughts that I've had before, if that makes sense. I loved Breakfast at Tiffany's because I love an enigma of a woman. And although I didn't like the man's point of view necessarily, I did like her mystique in that book. And then, oh yeah, and then of course, the very, very early ones that I did on the channel for the casual classics, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I love, 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 love that book. And I think that's more modern and current day than you could ever imagine. It's a woman who leaves an abusive marriage and runs away to start anew with her child. And the neighbor guy has a crush on her and comes over and tries to like hit on her and make sure that her life is going well. It is quite literally like a modern day scenario. It's so interesting. And just to have the same problems and again, social commentary and stuff that dates back to the freaking 1800s is just absolutely insane. And I really, really enjoyed that book. And I really enjoyed that book. Top favorite videos I've made. Yeah, same ones that I've rattled off. I'm trying to think if there's any others that have like really, really stuck out that I have reviewed. I also love when I do the meme videos that are just all for laughs and crazy shenanigans because I think we all just need that in our lives. And I love having a giggle. So those are also very high on my list of things that I love to record. Favorite books and 5-star, gotta recommend it to everyone. Again, This Is How You Lose the Time War and all the other books that I've rattled off so far. My favorite silly, goofy, fun time book for this year has to be the spooned, forked, and knifed books. I cannot remember that author's name. Ruth Cardello, or Cadello, I believe. So fun. The World War II super soldiers that turn into silverware. Dude, that's like literally such a silly, goofy, good time. Who even thinks of that? That's crazy. And it was so wholesome. Like, that 100%, that was my favorite. What book impacted your perception on yourself in the world and how/why? I would say the ones that impacted me the most would be Looking for Alaska by John Green and Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chomsky. I'm slaughtering his name. Just as like a young teenager going through it, again, like the throes of depression, reading that meant a lot at the time and put words to things that I didn't really understand and really kind of gave me that like, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, there are like good people and things maybe do get better and the friendships around you are like really important and you have bigger impacts on the people around you than you really think. There was also a couple of books that I read that I cannot remember the names of, like when I was younger. One of them was about like a girl that had a mom with well, I do know the name of that one. The book is called So Be It. And it was about this young girl with a mom who had some type of like mental handicap where she was not able to like fully function. And so the girl pretty much was like taking care of herself and her mother at like a very young age. Her mom could only say, I think, like 13 words. And so this girl wanted to figure out who she was and where she came from and who her dad was and all this other stuff. And it was just about this young girl trying to interact with the world and handle being like a caretaker at a young age and taking on all of these responsibilities and kind of like navigating that. And then there was this other book that I got at a very young age, and that one I genuinely can't remember the name of, but it was this like teenage girl who had a sibling who got really, really injured, and then it was that girl dealing with the emotions that come with that, with having a sibling with a disability or that has something happen to them where they get like all of the attention of the family, and that older sibling now having to deal with like, oh, I'm like, no one's looking at me anymore. Like, nobody cares about what I do. I could literally do anything right now and like nobody gives a shit, right? Really impactful, again, for like totally other reasons of my life, probably why I was a depressed kid. Those ones helped also give words and recognition and things to my life growing up. And same thing, really kind of shaped the way that I went about those situations. The same way, talk about that one too, I guess. Speak by Lori Halse Anderson, and also pretty much anything by Ellen Hopkins that I read when I was in high school that had to do with teenagers going through either being like SA'd or drug problems or alcohol issues or these like really effed up family situations. Like all of those types of books that I read growing up really helped give me a perspective that either, like I said, I related to personally that helped me with words, or really, really helped give me perspectives and maybe like almost a unintentional, definitely shouldn't have, but definitely was kind of like a how-to guide or like a glimpse into like how to handle those situations, like how to support people and friends and whatever that I knew that were going through these. Like through those particular books, those 4, 6, however many books I've just rattled off that I'm rambling about now, those books all taught me empathy, right? They all taught me empathy. They all helped me see all of these situations and how their friends handled it and their parents. And I was able to kind of like put myself in their shoes of like, oh, that person handled that really, really shitty. In 5 years from now, when I have a friend, like 5 years from reading it, when I have a friend that ends up in a similar position, I know what not to do. You know, now all of a sudden I have this like kind of like information of how to be a better friend and be better supportive through all of these things, right? That's the importance of reading. That's the importance of reading. And this is just like on my soapbox, I guess, a little bit of like the books that get banned. Oftentimes they say that it's like, you know, too traumatic or too blah, 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 or too anything for kids to read. Well, hey, people live that life, right? That shit happens to people. Lori Halse Anderson's books, really, literally all of the books that I just rattled off, Ellen Hopkins, Lori Halse Anderson, John Green's, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Looking for Alaska, all of those books are all on the banned list. If you ever look at like the top 10 most banned books of the year, like throughout the decades or whatever, those are books that people actually go through. Like the kids in those books that are going through and experiencing these issues are pretty universal, right? Everybody will know a kid or know somebody who went through what that book is talking about. And I think it's a disservice to not allow children to experience it through a book, to either, again, give word to what they've gone through and have validation that they're not alone, or give them that like preliminary experience and insight and empathy to a situation before they go through it or they have a friend that goes through it. So now that they know how to navigate it a little bit better. It's a pure, real shame that they're taking that away from kids or that they're trying to, and it sucks. Like, if I was not able to read those books, I don't think I would be as good of a person as I am today. I would not have been able to be as good of a friend, and I would have felt a lot worse about my life and my situations that I had gone through, you know? What's a book that you want to read but are intimidated by? I want to read The Count of Monte Cristo, but it's so freaking long. So I really also want to read like White Nights and Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, I think is how you say his name, but I clearly have a difficulty saying Russian names, and I think I would just be not distracted, but it would be harder for me to follow. And then same things, Crime and Punishment is such a long freaking book that I'm very intimidated by that one as well. But I do want to at least read White Nights, and I was thinking about doing that one as a casual classic this winter actually and talking about it, but I'm just trying to will myself into diving into like Russian literature in general. And then similar vein, he's German, not Russian, but Kafka, who wrote Metamorphosis. I want to read more of his work as well. I've been getting fed a lot on my Instagram about this like these like all of the like depression playwrights and all these poems and quotes and stuff by all those guys that I just rattled off, that I was like, wow, I think I need to deep dive their work a little bit more. I ended up on some weird algorithm thing on Instagram, but I'm loving it. I'm loving all these works. And so I'm like, I want to read these. But again, they're very long works for the most part, and I'm just very, very intimidated. I'm very scared. But I think I would enjoy it maybe, or just, I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, out of all of the books that you've read on the channel, which one would you most want to be in? Oh, I'm trying to think if there's any like sci-fi funny ones that I've been in that don't involve any danger, because I want to have like a good time. You know what I mean? I don't want to fear for my life at all. Hold on, let me look at my Goodreads. I'll see if anything speaks to me real quick. Okay, yes, I found it. I love the world of T. Kingfisher's Paladin's Grace. I just think it would be fun to be in this like old-timey kind of era like that, where there's all these like knights and everything fun. Oh my God, also, oh, I totally forgot that I read that book. My other 5-star read that I would have everybody, that I would encourage highly to check out, would be Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. I also did a rant review on that. That's also probably one of my favorite videos I did this year, and like one of my favorite books this year. That was so good. Oh my God, how many books did I read? Good God. Yeah, I would say I would want to be in the Paladin's Grace universe, mostly just because I would want to date one of the guys from Paladin's Grace. That was also a question, like book boyfriend wise, literally any of them from that series. They're all such gentlemen. And more specifically, actually, I would want to date the bear woman from book number 2. She's such a babe. She's such like, I love female knights. Like, don't even get me started. I love a female knight. The Everlasting, that's who that is. Brienne of Tarth, don't get me started. This is like Brienne of Tarth, but she turns into a bear, and she used to be a nun. What the fuck? Her? Yes. So, that's the world that I would want to be in. I just think it would be fun and different, and I enjoyed all of those people in those books. Who is your favorite author in the thriller genre? I don't know if I've really found one yet, to be honest. I haven't read any thrillers outside of what I've done reviews on this channel. Maybe like 1 or 2 others, like randomly, that I haven't talked about. I haven't really found anybody that I was like, oh yeah, I need to read more of their books. I haven't like really fallen in love with a particular thriller author. When I was growing up though, I did love thriller books, and I read and was addicted to Jennifer McMahon. I need to go back and read her stuff now as an adult to see if it's like held through the test of time. But I was addicted to that woman's books, and I still have all of those copies. I need to read them so bad and like get caught up on her catalog and see if I was just a kid who had no idea what was going on in the world. But I don't know yet. I haven't found one, which is like really sad for me. What are some books that you read growing up that you think informed your taste today? I think I've kind of like hit really on all these other reading type questions with my crazy rants that I've just gone on. But the one thing that I would want to note is I also think that a lot of my taste today was affected by my love of poetry. Like I really grew up watching like all of the freaking spoken word, like button poetry type of things very, very heavily, right? Like Neil Hilborn, Sabrina Benheim. I can't remember any of the other people. Sarah Kay, Rudy Francisco, all of those types of people that really, really made me fall in love with like telling a short story in this like poetic language and really conveying points in like very concise, emotionally driven ways that I think have really, really shaped the type of things that like draw me in and the type of stuff that I just love in general. Like I love emotionally impactful, meaningful stories. It doesn't even have to be meaningful, I guess. If it's like meaningful to that person or to that scenario, I love that too. I'm a sucker for a good storytelling, honestly. Short, long, medium, whatever. I think any novel or any story is a good one if you tell it right. And I love storytelling just in general. I love that so much. But I would say that listening to those guys growing up really, I think, informed my taste of that love of like poetic emotional punches. The first book that I remember reading, like I said, if we're talking like actual proper chapter books that I remember reading, it would be that So Be It book. And then the Jennifer McMahon books, I also remember reading at like probably way too young of an age and being like, oh my God, I don't think I should be reading this. Even at that age, I was like, I don't think I should be reading this, but I can't look away. It was literally books about little girls being kidnapped. And I like had to have been in middle school, reading about middle schoolers legitimately being kidnapped by like creepy guys in bunny costumes and like very like not good stuff, dude. It was crazy. And then also, yeah, I think other early books I remember reading, like 13 Reasons Why, like when I was a young teenager, and the Laurie Halse Anderson, I think Winter Girls and Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson are early ones I remember. That's like pretty much all of my like middle school books that I read. I wasn't a like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Twilight girly. I was a like Ellen Hopkins, Laurie Halse Anderson, depressed, really depressed, traumatized kid. Like would read all of those types of books when I was growing up. So I missed out on a lot of fun ones. I was mostly like skipping lunch and reading depressing books in the back of the library. I was like one of those kids. So my my taste in like reading experience is a little biased, a little funky. And my favorite books as a kid, like a little baby kid, was The Giving Tree and Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah, those two for sure when I was a kid. Top 5 book boyfriends, again, literally everybody in the Paladin's Grace series. What would you recommend to people who struggle to get back into reading? I would, circling back to kind of what I said, I said circling back, you can tell I just got off work. I would say trying to find short stories that pack those emotional punches. So like what I did when I fell out of reading, I think I've talked about this before, I think maybe on my previous Q&A thing. I stopped reading when I got to college. Pretty much actually when I got to high school, that was when I like really got into like some really, really heavy like traumatic stuff. And I stopped reading. Like I completely fell into this like really, really horrible depression phase where I couldn't touch anything and couldn't do anything other than like what I had to do. So I didn't really read for pleasure anymore or do any of that. And then I got into college and grad school and I just didn't have time, and my brain just could not function to focus on a story. But what I could focus on at that time was on Reddit, of all places. There's like our No Sleep, where you get to read like the scary stories on there. And there's some short story Reddits, and there's these like these like storytelling Reddits are what got me back into reading, because I was like, oh, like a No Sleep post, like that should be a short one. Like that's just like a blog post. Yeah, I could totally knock that out. I'm not getting invested in a novel. And then if you go through those, you're like, oh wow, actually, this whole reading thing's actually kind of interesting. I'm actually like really enjoying myself. So that, right, if you go to No Sleep and you sort by like top of all time and try to maybe go through some of those, that might kind of like scratch an itch that gets you back into it. The other thing that got me back into reading in 2023 was reading short stories. Yes, okay, the book was Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory by Raphael Bob Waksberg. So that was a collection of short stories that felt a little sci-fi, felt a little real, felt a little mix of everything that I thought were really interesting. So I read that short story collection and the short story collection, The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. I reread that as an adult. And getting invested in those short stories was kind of like the catapult for me to get back into reading, would be like kind of those three forums. So I think if you can find a good short story collection, or if you can find good short story type of like Reddit posts or like a Reddit, subreddit to try to go through, that's kind of what I would recommend. Or short stories, right? Of course, I feel like everybody says that. Everybody's like, oh yeah, go find a book that's under 100 pages. Bitch, I couldn't even read 5 pages. I couldn't even commit to like a 5-page short, like that type of short story. I need like a tidbit. Like I needed like the dopamine hit of reading, again, a short, emotionally impact, like concise story to make me feel something. And then we could talk about this other stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say. That'd be my recommendation there. And then moving into the recommendation section, I had a lot of people that were recommending like particular books, and I wrote all of them down. I have a separate like Excel spreadsheet of book recommendations from people. I think last time I checked, I was at 282 entries for the Google form, and people asked if they could recommend or if I take recommendations, and the answer is yes. I have a Google form in the description box below. Give me whatever, dude. that does inform what I read next. I try to see if there's stuff that like a lot of people have talked about, or maybe a book that I was interested in, or that I think I want to do. That Google Doc is like the first thing that I look at to see who recommended it and if they had any like additional insight or input, or, you know, kind of like other people's thoughts on it. And that's kind of my little cheat sheet of what I read next or what I do reviews on next. So I do, and I recommend biographies, nonfiction, like anything. I keep an open mind to whatever. It's just a matter of the things I talk about on the channel is a little bit more limited to stuff that I think most people would be interested in. Somebody also asked if I had ever read Riley Sager's trash fire thriller novels. The answer is no, but he's on the list. There is a Riley Sager book coming soon, don't you worry. I have like a Riley Sager, Ruth Ware, I did Lucy Foley. Who are the other ones? There's a couple other like those big names that I see come up a lot that I plan on reviewing very soon. So don't you worry. If there's like a thriller author person that's been in the top selling charts in the last like 3 years, they're on my list. They're on my list. Don't you worry. We'll get there soon. Which, by the way, I am genuinely so enjoying doing the thriller book reviews because, I don't know, I don't want to keep reading romance-centered garbage. It's been fun seeing something different. It's now 5:13, and I had to get up and shut all of the windows around me because I sure as hell ain't gonna have people looking at my windows. I'm so sad that it's so dark outside. And if you can hear the noises off camera, I'm opening Cheeto Mini Flamin' Hots. I'm so excited. Look at that indigestion in a can. Okay, anyway, channel process. Have you ever considered doing movie breakdowns? I think they would be really entertaining. I have had people ask that before, and my husband thinks that that would be a really good idea. The issue is just like, I just don't watch movies like that. And I don't think I enjoy movies like that in a way that would make it fun for me. So I see the appeal. You're not the only one that thinks it would be cool. I just don't think I could do it. I don't think I could. When is merch coming? Do you plan on adding anything more to the shop? Maybe eventually. I definitely want to add some more stickers. Like there's a couple more like sticker quotes and phrases and stuff that I want to add to the shop, but not really from what I'm thinking. We'll see though. I do have quite a few people ask, like whenever I wear my one sweaters that say Read, Rant, Review on the front, I get asked that question a lot. Maybe, kind of, sort of, eventually, we'll see. But definitely, I think some more stickers coming soon. How do you feel about the parasocial side of being a YouTuber who does such casual chit-chatty videos? Is it weird your audience probably feels like we're your friends? I don't think it's weird in the way that I also listen to a bunch of chit-chatty YouTubers, and I think I have also similar parasocial feelings. I think it's very hard to not have a parasocial relationship with people that you listen to for hours on end every single week. I don't think human minds were made for that type of connection without being friends with, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's natural to feel that way. And so I don't really have anything like against it. It's definitely something though. Like it's weird to be on this side of that. And I'm still kind of like navigating that. But for now, I don't think it's weird. I think, like I said, I think human brains just aren't made for the way that the internet and the world is like set up currently. So I don't think that's anybody's like fault. And as long as nobody makes it weirder than it needs to be, we're good. Why do you listen to your books with the robot voice instead of audiobooks with narrators? I have an audio processing issue. Couldn't tell you what it is exactly. Don't know what it is, but I just cannot do it. I cannot, it drives me crazy. It hurts me deeply inside of my heart. I cannot listen to other people talk like that. I don't know if it's like people taking themselves so seriously that like hurts me in my soul. There's like, I just can't do it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I physically, it makes me like violently angry and ill to listen to audiobook narrations. Even though that's something I want to do. Like I want to narrate stuff. I love narrating things. I just can't listen to it. I can't listen to other people do it, you know? I don't know why, but that's why I listen to the robot. And also because I like hearing the story and being able to like apply my own thoughts and emotions towards something. I don't want somebody else's like interpretation or performance of a line to shape how I interpret it or how I feel about it, because that's my reading experience of a book. Like, I don't want, does that make sense? Like, I don't want a narrator to say something with attitude when I would have read that normally and thought that it was something else. And so I don't want that like kind of like biased experience of something. Like, I want to feel my own feelings. I don't want to be told how to feel, you know? Just curious what format you read your books in and how do you afford to read so many? The format I read them is the robot voice narrator. I have like a 40 minute commute depending on traffic. And during that time, I listen to audiobooks on like 2.5 speed, 2.2 to 2.7, kind of depending on the density of it. And so I'm able to listen to books, like I'm at least one to two books a week during my commute. So that's how I read so many, because I have the little robot voice reading to me. How do I afford it? Luckily, the channel is monetized, and really the channel pays for the books that I do reviews for. What's your secret to continuing a bad book? I have to know. It's honestly impressive how you endure the pain just to review, LOL. Also, how do you read through the books that you absolutely despise? Oh, I think this is like multiple. I like put them all in the same cell. And then what motivates you to finish/research them so thoroughly? The issue with me, and this, okay, derailing a slight bit here. The issue with me is like, once I start something, I have a very, very difficult time putting it down. Like I said, I love storytelling. Even if it's dog shit storytelling, I want to know how it ends. I'm like, not that I'm like emotionally invested, but like it opens like a can in my brain, like a little can of worms in my brain. And in this like question mark that like, I'm not going to be able to answer. And I have to know the ending. I can't just like have this like open thing. Like, I have to know, or it will quite literally drive me insane. So even the handful of books that I've like DNF'd that I haven't looked up or I haven't finished reading, I've looked up to find the ending, or I found somebody else, because like I have to know how the story ends. The reason that I can get through such bad books is literally just that. Like, whatever my like special brand of mental illness, and we'll talk about that in a minute for these other questions, whatever type of special brand of mental illness I have is the only motivating factor to get through the crappy books that I read, because it quite literally like drives me crazy to not finish them. And also to know that I'm going to crack jokes along the way. That also helps, that I can suffer with currently 33,000 of you guys as well, which by the way is an insane number that I'm so grateful for. Notice some movement in the space where you do your reviews. Once you're moved in, do you know if you will have a definitive space to do your talks? That's my plan. Part of the move here was that I would have like a dedicated like studio space where I would be able to have a consistent recording location. But I think even with that, I will probably still record in other spots, just because sometimes I like change and I like to mix it up. And maybe, you know, there's a rocking chair over here that like I'm kind of setting up with like this bookshelf and some like little decorations here. Inevitably, I'm gonna end up filming in this corner of this room, just because it's comfy and something different and a change of scenery. But yeah, for the most part now, it should be out of the studio once I get that finished, like unpacked and put together and beautiful and stuff. The previous house that we lived in, the issue, and like, not that it really matters to you guys, but the reason I was moving around so much is because we lived in like a multi generational home. Like, we lived with a bunch of family. And so you could hear them like in the different locations in the house, depending on like the time of day I was recording, or who was home at the time, or who was visiting or staying with us, or whatever. You could hear all the different people everywhere. So I would have to like strategically film in all these different rooms to like avoid, you know, all of the crazy noises that were going on at that house. But significantly more peaceful here now. So I should be able to record in like one consistent spot, and it'll always be quiet, and I'll always have my peace, and it'll be good. So yes, and I'm so excited about it. Do you write a script for your rant reviews? No, I do not. I don't think I could follow a script if I tried. I write bullet points, kind of, sorta. Usually what I do is like I go through on my little robot reading voice whenever I'm listening to that. Whenever I get to my destination, I have like a built-in, like if I'm driving to work, I have a built-in extra like 15 minutes that I do on the back end of my commute, where I go back through what I had listened to on that drive, and I'll highlight the couple of things that stood out to me. And then at the end of me reading all of these books, I export those highlights, And then I have all of my little highlight chunk that I want to read. And then I'll go through and do maybe some like bullet points to kind of inform that. But the pieces that I highlight are kind of like the key things that happened in the book during that time, or key quotes that I want to read out loud. And usually I'll do like different colors for that. Like yellow is like a plot thing, and then pink is like a quote that I want to read out loud for like good or bad reasons. And then that usually is kind of like what maps it out. And then when I talk, I kind of reference my quotes and anything that comes to mind as I talk about it with you guys. Maybe I'll do some bullet points to kind of do a little summary of what's going on. But for the most part, no, I do not have a script. It's a little bit more of me just like reading those highlights and those notes and whatnot, and then just kind of going with the flow from there, which is good and bad. I think that adds to a lot of like the casualness of my reviews, but it also means that there's a lot of stuff that like I forget to say that I go back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought up this point, or you guys will talk about it in the comments. And I'm like, I remember having that exact thought. And I'm like kind of pissed off that I didn't bring that up, you know, for XYZ, whatever it is, where I'm just like, man, maybe if I would have like thought here and planned this out a little bit better, I would have, you know what I mean? I kind of regret that. I kind of regret not having a script, but it is what it is. I don't know if I want to ever do one or if I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. We'll see what happens as we go. How do you balance work, life, and YouTube? You seem so organized. Thanks. So like I said, that goes back to the idea of my special brand of mental illness. I don't know how I balance it. I just kind of do it. This is really kind of all I do. The YouTube, working on it and stuff, kind of like bookends everything that I do, right? My little 2-hour gaps that I get when my husband's not around, that I'm able to like, oh yeah, like let me do like blah, 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 blah. And I work on all my like business, quote unquote, stuff during that time, where I'm like, I have these little forced time constraints that I give myself and these little like windows of operation where I'm able to get stuff done. But really like the bigger answer to all of that is that like I don't have kids and I'm not in school, and my husband and I have that work schedule like I talked about. So I have the free time and the means to be able to do so much YouTube stuff. Like if I had kids or if I was doing school stuff or a job, like my job is 9 to 5, I shut my brain off. I don't ever think about work again. That's a lie, but like technically I don't do anything work related outside of those hours. And so if that wasn't the case, if I didn't have a regular schedule, if I had kids or if I was going to school or had anything else on my plate at all, or if my husband and I had a different work schedule, I would not be able to do what I'm doing now. It just ends up being like a perfect storm for me to be able to like do all of this stuff. And also it's not organized. I oftentimes, if you're a part of like the members, you see it. I will upload the videos at like 11 p.m., 2 a.m. or like super late night. I'll stay up all hours of the night trying to like work on stuff last minute to get it out to everybody on time and like work on those time constraints. I work great under pressure, but that's about it. It's a lot more, I think, chaotic behind the scenes. And then, yeah, like I said, a perfect mess or perfect storm otherwise that lets me do stuff. But beyond that part, it's literally just me being a workaholic and also me working good under pressure. And so I just rolls with it. Will your partner ever join for a review in the future or any pets? No, my partner will. Previously we did like I read him some book descriptions and he gave reactions to it like off camera as a members exclusive video. And we would probably do that again. He wouldn't mind, like he would do it. It's just like a personal thing where I'm just like, I want to keep my YouTube life and my private life separate. And so probably not. The pet thing, probably eventually whenever we get a pet for here. All the previous pets that we had or that you had ever seen in videos or heard me talk about were all of the family pets. And so hopefully here soon we'll get our own. Somebody asked if I was still enjoying myself. I am. I would not be doing this if I was not. Having a good time. Just like I said, trying to like get in the groove of stuff, which I feel like I'm always trying to get in the groove. Trying to get back in the groove after the move and after everything, and not feeling like the world is collapsing everywhere. And then I think I'll go back to enjoying myself. But currently it's a little chaotic, but it's okay. Would you ever be interested in making the switch to going rant reviews as a full-time job? This is something that like we've talked about kind of in passing, like my husband and I don't think I could. I think I could maybe eventually. In a general sense of, there's obviously like some stuff that like I would like to pay off and like some financial goals that I would like to have that before I went full-time YouTube. Like there's some like security blankets there that I would need before I took the leap of leaving the corporate world. But also in the sense of like, I've been working since I was literally 16. Like 2 days after I turned 16, I was like borrowing my parents' car and like turning in resumes and job applications everywhere, and like started working like a week later, and I have not stopped. That like, I don't know what it would mean to not work. And I've been in my specific industry for, I'm coming up on 7 years, where I'm like, I don't know what it would be to not be in that. And I think I need stability a little bit too much to be able to leave it. I say that now, but hopefully maybe possibly in the future. But at this current moment in time, I can't imagine myself not doing what I'm doing for my 9 to 5 in some capacity. I just don't think I could do it. My foot fell asleep. I'm in so much pain, but I have like 10 questions left. I hate that. It's like the tingles and I can't move it because it like hurts so bad. You know what I mean? Frick, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's really anything else to say. I'll just like keep repeating myself about it. I think it would be really, really cool. And I really, really want to. There's so much more that like I want to do in ways that I want to be better for the channel and like for the peeps and for members, and things that I would do if I had time. And over on Bindery, there's a bunch of stuff that like I want to do if I just had time, that I can't have time for because I'm dedicated 40 hours a week doing other stuff that I would love to be able to do it. I just don't know if mentally I could. And that's the other issue too, of like during COVID, when I was working from home for like 2.5 years, I lost my ever-loving mind. Like I had to change jobs that I had at the time. I had to change jobs and go back to working in person because I was literally going insane. Like it was not healthy. I also had like undiagnosed issues at the time, which was not very helpful. Luckily, we're like medicated and good to go right now, but at the time it was not very good. So that probably had something to contribute. And so I'm kind of like open to the idea of like, hey, maybe if I'm like in a better mental state, maybe I would do better at working from home. But I'm also very, very terrified of working from home and not being around people and not having like a forced schedule like that it would put me down like a spiral that I wouldn't really be very good with, you know? And I don't want to go down that path again. So I think I'm also like really scared of working from home because of that. But I could also just get like a part-time gig, right? I could go and do like adjunct professor work if I wanted to, if I do YouTube full time and then do like a part-time somewhere something. I don't know, dude. I've talked about it. I've thought about it a lot. I don't know if I could do it. And that is a perfect transition into the personal questions section. What are some of your favorite things to do besides reading? So currently, not really doing anything besides reading. If I'm not working, I'm doing YouTube stuff, right? I'm reading or recording for YouTube, or I'm doing like some type of channel, something. Or I'm playing video games. So actually, I guess that's like my favorite thing to do. I love playing video games, specifically Nintendo, like the Nintendo Switch. I play so flipping much. So much so I went ahead and made like a gaming channel as well for like little cozy gaming hangouts. So I do that. And I used to love powerlifting. And again, now that we're in this house and I'm going to get my life together again, I want to start powerlifting again and like really taking that seriously again because I miss it so much. I haven't gotten back into it in a long time, and I haven't done it consistently in a really, really long time, but I loved it. I love. So I really, really would love to make time for that again and to fall back in love with like powerlifting. Will you ever do any sort of meetup IRL? Yeah, I think if there was ever like a book event in St. Louis or in like one of the towns over on the Illinois side that do like the big book meetup type things, I think I would do something like adjacent to it, or I would like announce that I was going there a little bit in advance and maybe get like lunch with people, or I don't know, have like a little meetup area. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's just a matter of I don't really go to those events anyway because I don't like big crowds of people. I actually kind of hate going into big crowds of people. in being around all of that. And so that part is kind of like where it would be a pain in the butt, but I would be open to it. It would just be me having to bully myself into going to the events in the first place to even be able to like set up a type of meetup thing. Could you take us through a tattoo tour and why you chose them? I'm especially curious about what made you decide to get the Lorenz Attractor. Physics girly here. I love that so much. Yeah, I'm not wearing a very good shirt for this. What bra am I wearing? Not a good bra for this either. Hold. Okay, I turned up the brightness a little bit on my laptop too, so maybe this will be a little bit better. So, tattoo tour. We'll start from the top. First tattoo I ever got, it says Bright Eyes for the emo band Bright Eyes. Still love them to this day. Still my favorite band, in my top 5 every single year. I got that when I was 16. My parent had to come up to the tattoo shop to sign off on it. It's in my best friend's handwriting, who passed away. When she passed away, I got this bird in honor of her. It's a reference to Bright Eyes. It's a yellow bird. It's referenced in a bunch of their songs. I got this for her. I also got some violets and a rose in reference to the book, or not the book, the short story, The Ambitious Violet by Khalil Gibran, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. We got a cowboy boot with a little rose. This is a little memorial tattoo that I got for my mother-in-law who passed away. My sister-in-law and I got little matching tattoos as part of my like bachelorette party in her honor. I have a little rose tattoo right here that says Be More. Kind of going back to powerlifting. If you are in the powerlifting space at all, or if you are familiar with it, there's a woman by the name of Meg Squats who has a very, very similar tattoo. It's on this part of her arm though. She's the one that got me into powerlifting and really, really changed my life in like 2018, 2019 when I found her channel. Completely changed like my perception of myself, like powerlifting did, and her content and like who she is as a person, like really, really helped shape me. And powerlifting genuinely at that time like kind of saved my life and my perception of myself. And so I got this tattoo kind of like in honor of that, in honor of those like feelings and that change that I went through at that time, and just like being more, right? Taking up space in where you are and being who you are and being like fully and authentically who you are, and to not like censor or like water down any of that to make anybody comfortable, you know, within reason. Obviously, you understand what I'm trying to say here. And just, yeah, be good. Be a good person, do good things, be yourself. Love that. Probably my favorite tattoo, because whenever I wear my work stuff and my blazers right up, I can still see it all the time. So I love that one. We're not even going in order. We'll just go up this arm, I guess. Have a cool little, so it was supposed to be a moth. Okay, so hear me out. We're gonna talk about something real quick. Whenever you go into a tattoo shop and you give them a picture, they will either, depending on what type of shop you're at, they say, oh, yeah, cool, copy paste, let me put that on your body. That's what this one was. I drew this. I took it to one of those shops, one of those like pump 'em and dump 'em shops. And so he took my picture, put it on my arm, colored it in, and said, good to go. And I said, oh, because this was like my third tattoo I ever got. And I said, oh, I guess that's how tattoos work. Awesome. And so didn't go very great. I hate this tattoo. Like, it's ugly, but I love it because it's ugly, and I love it for what it means to me. But it's just like, kind of sucks compared to the other ones that I have, you know? So you have those instances. You go into a shop, you say, here you go, they copy and paste it, or they take it as inspiration, they draw up their own thing, and they make it beautiful. This was an instance of a copy and paste. I took this picture directly off of Pinterest. You might have seen it on Pinterest. If you look up abstract butterfly, you'll probably see this exact photo. I gave this to the tattoo artist, and I said, hey, I love this, but I want it to be a moth, not a butterfly. So I come back 2 weeks later for my appointment. She hands me this picture, and all she did was add these little antennae. She said, oh, it's a moth. I don't think that's a moth. But I still loved it because I was like, I do love butterflies. And then when you look at this one that I'll talk about in a second, I was like, oh, it's perfect. I can just have 2 butterflies on my forearms. That's beautiful. And so I went with it, and then I regretted it immediately. And now I have this thing forever on my arm that, while I love, these antennae do not make it a fucking moth, bro. So always speak up at your tattoo appointments. Don't be a people pleaser with things that are going on your body permanently. Don't do that. Don't be me. It's so stupid. It's such a stupid thing. This one I got when I was like 19, so I couldn't speak up for myself. But this one I got like a year ago. So what the hell, Kaylee? I don't know. But yeah, so that's what that one is. It's just a cool thing I found on Pinterest. And I wanted like a butterfly and a moth, and I ended up being 2 butterflies, which is fine. And then back here, you can kind of see it's a little hand holding a 3-headed snake. We got some moons and stars. This is by Apache Colin in St. Louis. And then he did my 2 tattoos on this arm as well of Ophelia, which you guys voted for a couple months ago. And then this little hand coming out of a cloud, a little god hand is what I consider that one to be. But yeah, so this one was another one I found off of Pinterest. I got it to him and I said, hey, he's one of those people though that you give him inspo and then he customizes it and puts it kind of in his style so it matches the other tattoos that I have, but it's still a hand holding a snake. So I think it's the whole thing, I don't know, like a good and evil. You got like the god hand coming out of the cloud on this side. We've got like a little snake nighttime situation on this side. I just thought it looked sick as fuck. I just thought it looked really, really cool. So yeah, that's like probably one of my favorite tattoos. And then on this arm, we have You Are My Sunshine in my dad's handwriting. I think I got that when I was like 20. That was a surprise Father's Day gift for him. I love my dad so much, and that's definitely one of my favorite tattoos. And I have his handwriting and my best friend's handwriting in the same spot. This was another Pinterest situation. I brought this into an artist, but he was actually a really, really good artist. So he copy and pasted the outline of the owl, but then he colored it in and made it so freaking pretty and cool. And then we have, like I said, Ophelia and the God Hand from Colin, which I love both of these tattoos so much. I'm saving the Lorenz attractor for last. And then I have 2 on my shins, which I'll put up pictures of. I just love owls is the one shin tattoo. And then the other one was inspired by the BoJack Horseman poem that gets read in that in one of the final episodes, or the final episode maybe, of the View from Halfway Down, one of my favorite, all-time favorite pieces of media, I guess you could call it. I originally wanted the women's heads to be like, you know, like one up and one down, but that would look bad on a calf, so instead we did this one. A little happy lady and a little sad lady. And again, it looks sick as fuck. And so then I immediately went back to him. That is from Jeff Meyer at Howdy. That's his tattoo shop currently over in St. Louis. He did that, and then immediately, not immediately, a year later when I got the balls again to get my shin tattooed, I went back and got the owl. No meaning, I just love owls. I love birds. If you can't tell by all the bird tattoos and bird paraphernalia in all my videos, I just love them. Now, for the Lorenz attractor, this goes back to, if you're unfamiliar with what this is, it's like the mathematical equation thing for the chaos theory, or what you've probably heard of, the butterfly effect. Like you do one little tiny thing and it has these like really, really big impacts on the world, like in the future. I love the concept. I love the idea of little things having a big impact, and I'm a math and physics girly. I find all of that stuff also very, very fascinating. And so rather than getting something butterfly effecty that was like on the nose or something weird, I thought it was like an abstract, cool way to embrace like the chaos theory and this like more philosophical idea of the chaos theory of like, you know, you never know what is going to happen. You can't really predict anything in life. You can't predict anything that's going to happen. What happens will happen. And you just got to do what little good things you can as you go and hope for the best later. I don't know. I just think it's cool. I wish I could be like, oh yeah, I have like a super science background degree thing. No, I just love the idea of the butterfly effect. That's like one of those other like really grounding principles. I know I got asked it earlier and we're kind of babbling now, but it was asking about like what books kind of changed me and shaped who I was today. And I would argue like the TV show that did that the most for me was My Name is Earl from like the 2010s, late 2000s era time frame. And it was a guy who had done a lot of bad stuff in his life. And when he won the lottery and he had the lottery ticket, he got hit by a car and lost the lottery ticket. And he was like, I think it's because of karma. Like I have bad karma, so I need to do good. And so he went through and he made a list of like all of these people, like every bad thing that he's ever done. And so then he went through this list. The whole TV series is him going through the list. Like every episode is a different item and like making up for that bad thing that he did so that he'll get good karma and he can be like a good person and then get the lottery ticket back. And that was like the whole basis of the show, which while comedic seeing him go through and like make up for all of these like bad actions that he had, and like seeing what this little bad thing he did and the great impact that it had later, and him trying to undo it, and just the idea of karma and being a good person and doing good things and just wanting to have a positive impact on the world. I think as a piece of media, that really impacted me greatly. And so I also kind of think of this as like a little bit of that, just like karma in a way is what this kind of like represents for me. And then also, yeah, I love nerding out on chaos theory and math not doing what you think it should. I think that is objectively a really, really cool and interesting thing. Have you always been into content creation? Yes. I was a Tumblr girly back in the day. I was on like the role-playing forums back in the day on like a bunch of different websites. I was on a whole bunch of those websites. I had like a pretty popular Tumblr blog where I did stuff. I've always been writing online in different ways. I had a TikTok that in like 2020, it was like a fitness TikTok that I got up to like 18,000 subscribers or whatever, followers, I think is what they're called over there. You know, had a Discord back then and a whole thing, and then obviously the YouTube stuff now. Like I've always wanted to do content creation in some way, and I guess I kind of always have throughout my life in a way. I like reaching out to a bunch of people. I like doing things that impact a bunch of people and help out a bunch of people. I don't know. Yes, in short, yes. Do you have any aspirations of being an author? Would you ever write and publish your own book? Yes, I would love to. I love having ideas. I have a hard time following through and like fleshing them out in a way that would like justify a full book. So I think I need to get into like short stories and doing something like that. But I would love to publish my own book. I would love to have the mental fortitude to be able to sit down and follow through on an idea long enough to write a book. I think that is incredibly admirable, and I would love to be able to do it. I don't know if I ever will, but I would love to. Would you ever narrate an audiobook? Again, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. Now that I'm in a space where I have the ability to, I have the controlled quiet and like consistent access to that type of area, I would love to. But we're back to the whole thing about me doing stuff full time. I feel like I can't really pursue any narration gigs or audiobook type gigs unless I was doing this stuff full time, because that would take another hours upon hours of my days to do audio work. But I would love to do it. Don't get it twisted. I would love to do that. I think it would be so cool. What kind of shows do you like? Have you ever seen the show New Girl? If you haven't, you should. Yeah, duh. New Girl was like my bread and butter, dude. I loved New Girl when it was coming out. That was another one that really shaped a lot of who I was, and I was 100% like a Jessica Day, unironically, growing up and watching that. I loved that show so much. I love that. I love Parks and Rec, Community, BoJack Horseman, Bob's Burgers, Adventure Time, those types of shows, Black Mirror, like I said. I'm trying to think if there's any other like shows. I really just like rewatch the same stuff. Like I've gone back and rewatched Bob's Burgers, Adventure Time, and BoJack Horseman like more than I care to admit, just because that's like, those are like my comfort shows. Same thing, I've like gone back and like rewatched like Hey Arnold, just as comfort stuff. There's not really any. I was obsessed with Westworld, like season 1 of Westworld, a little bit of season 2. Loved that show, oh my God. And then yeah, Black Mirror, I literally can't shut up about it. The way that I like bully my coworkers into watching it, it's so sad. Every single person that I meet, that's like 100% that will come up if they've watched it, and if not, I bully them into watching it. And before you ask, my favorite episodes, San Junipero, obviously, I'm a sucker for love. I love really all of them. I like the idea of White Bear. White Christmas is crazy sad. I love the one with the bees because that's scary and feels a little bit real. Same with the one about the Boston Dynamic dog. Whatever the one is about the, what was it? The very first one is the Something of You. Literally all of them, dude. Every single one of them. Whatever the dating one is, where at the end of it, they like, I'm not gonna spoil it. Whatever the dating app one is, where it gives you how many days or how long that your relationship is gonna be with that person. Shut the fuck up. I love that so much. Favorite color is green. Did you buy a house in St. Louis? No, not in St. Louis proper. Like not, it's not like I'm in like Soulard or like, you know, Tower Grove or anything like that. I'm in like the outer the outer burbs of St. Louis. So I'm not truly from there. It's just like easier to say for like general population to know where I am in the grand scheme of the country. Now, onto the other section. Marry, kill, read, rant, review. Ooh, I think I would have to marry Rant. No, I'd have to marry Read. I think I would kill Review and Rant. I feel like Rant would be like an angry bang. It'd be fun. You can mix it up a little bit, right? Marry Read, obviously. And then, yeah, I think I'd have to kill Review, which is like really sad. Is what it is. Thoughts on Wicked for Good? I haven't watched it. I'm not a big movie person. Like I'm genuinely just not a movie person at all. I never have I ever. And I'm so behind on any, like my inner hipster. Like I said, not only did I not read, you know, Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Twilight when they were really popular, I still never have. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, never read them, never watched them. Just like have completely 50 Shades of Grey, any of those like really, really big, crazy popular things, I've never touched with a 10-foot pole. I don't know what it is. Again, I don't know if it's like the inner hipster in me that just wants to avoid anything popular. I don't know, but I'm just not a big movie guy. And so I have not seen Wicked for Good, sadly. I'm too lame. If there was one writing tip that you could give authors after hours of fantastic plot breakdowns, what would it be? It can be either pros or cons. A tip to authors. I would argue that my biggest issue that I have in books, as like a reader, again, as somebody who I've like talked about on this, I get so invested in emotionally driven plots, and I love storytelling and whatever, that like you could have a really, really good plot, and it could be an amazing story, but if I don't care, like if I'm not invested and care about a character, if the characters aren't fleshed out in any way, it means nothing. Like it's just events happening instead of me feeling like I'm experiencing those events or me having empathy for the character going through said event. So don't underestimate the importance of making your characters relatable or realistic in a way. Even if it's like really niche, stupid things, it'll speak to somebody. It'll mean something. And we just have to just make me care about the person and what they're going through, not just like telling me what's going on. I would say that. And just from like a writer to writer perspective, like I said, not that I have written a book, but I write a lot and I write all the time. It's just not really fully fleshed out things. Not like fully cohesive things. Would be to just keep writing and to not go back and edit until you are finished with all your other stuff. Like it's really easy to get torn up about something being perfect before you move on, but you're gonna lose your flow. And if you have a perfect chapter 1, but like a really, really shitty rest of your book, like that doesn't matter. I don't care. What do you mean? Like that's worthless. You wanna have at least like all of your stuff written out in a good flow of ideas before you go back and like start like perfecting and editing and whatever. Like just get all of your thoughts out there first. Be it via outline or be it via really shitty drafts of your chapters as you go, and then going back and unpacking them. I would say that is important, to just get it all out of your brain, and also to don't fall in love with your writing or this like any particular idea that you have. Like be willing and ready to throw away anything, and not throw away in the sense of like don't delete it, but maybe copy and paste it into a save for later Word doc where you have a scene or a sentence or a character or something, and just have it saved in like a backlog somewhere that you can have access to later that might be better suited for another story, right? Just because you think of it and it's a really good idea or a really good scene or a really good whatever, it might not be good for the story that you're telling currently. Don't just fit it in because it sounds cool or fit it in because it's something that you're proud of at that moment. Like stick to the bit, you know what I mean? Like commit to the bit of what you're going through. Don't have like the whole, like what we call it at work is like a good idea fairy and just force something. Let it happen naturally, or like I said, save it for later and put it in like something else later. Because I feel like that also happens quite a bit where I'm just like, what is going on? Where did that come from? Like that came out of left field. And I feel like that's usually what stems from that. Somebody thought of something good and they wanted to fit it in at that exact moment instead of saving it for the proper project. Does that make sense? I think that would be the advice. I think those little bits, those little tidbits as reader and writer that I would offer people. And my last question, do you have a P.O. box that we can send fan mail to? I do, in fact, have a P.O. box. I will have it in the description box below if you want to send me something. I'll take it out if ever I get rid of it or whatever. But the same as always, though, don't make it weird. If you make it weird, I'm going to have to take it out of my freaking description box and act like I don't have one. And I don't want to do that. I like having access to you guys. I think that's fun. I think if you want to, like, do whatever, that's cool. Just, like I said, don't be weird. And that was the last question. Wow, what a fun... I've probably talked way too long, not gonna lie, but like I said, I'm kind of bored. And I'm really avoiding unpacking because right when I'm finished with this, I have to eat dinner, I'm gonna edit and post, and then I have to go right back to unpacking all of this crap, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just yapping a lot right now, but I guess I better try to be productive. So again, 2025 has been an absolutely crazy year for the channel. Had no idea. Literally, my goal for the year was to hit 5,000 subscribers. 10,000 was my stretch goal. And then I was like, oh, well, what about 25? And then I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess we're just gonna see what happens. It's been crazy and fun, and I've had a great time, and I'm so grateful for all of you guys, and I'm so glad that you're like enjoying the content that I put out there. I'm glad to be your cozy parasocial friend on the internet. I'm glad I can provide you guys some entertainment for all of your chores and craft projects and work hours and walking the dog and shoveling snow and all of the other things that you guys tell me about all the time that you put me on for in the background. All your crocheting projects. I'm glad to be there. I'm glad to be able to keep you company through all of those things. It's really neat. Never thought I would be in this situation. So, like I said, just grateful. Grateful, grateful, grateful for all of you. And I can't wait to see what 2026 brings us. So I think that's all I have. I think I've yapped enough. Ugh. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you Thursday with a new video. I'll have a rant review on Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Look forward to that. All right. Bye, guys. I'll see you in the next one.